I was watching this little video. This is by Blackpool, and basically this is a piece of the old town that's now in the sea, and there's bits more like this, and they're saying that that's where the town went to. And it kind of reminded me of a story, but I can't find the video, which is really annoying. But I think I've got a little bit of information which we show you in a minute about it. But it's so annoying because this lady's she's not making a flat earth video or doing anything like that. She's not trying to, she's just talking about her town. She's talking about the fact that a tsunami came. Look at that, pretty vague, 8,000 to 15,000 years ago. That's what that one says on Wikipedia. But kept delving. So that's the lady with the video that I put on last. It's on Sun and Moon as a premiere. So this video will be afterwards. But there is her. That is her website. It is on there. You can go and read what she says. You can also watch the video. Thank you very much, kind lady. Anyway, I've put this bit in my video, but this one here happened in 1532, whereas the one we were looking at was 1755. But it says the inundation of 1532 was said to have swept inland for up to 2 miles. It swept away the original Grossel Grange and the village of Wadham Thorpe at South Shore Blackpool Square's Gate. So this is what this woman's talking about, that the village is out in the sea. So this is another bad tsunami in the 1555. That's really weird, isn't it? 1755. We've got 1555. And then quite a lot was, but I don't know if that was a world one. But that's what that's about in and they're talking about it. But it seems these things must have been happening quite often, but I still think that 1755 got most places. But anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, please leave your thoughts.
It is. So yesterday I asked on Facebook which way you wanted me to go, because this is kind of midpoint for me to go either way, and quite a few people said Cleveland, so that's where we're going to go. So I'm going to go down on the beach. It's quite nippy this morning. I've put double layers on, and currently I've got my gloves on, so if I might get warm and start taking everything, I might get warm and start taking my gloves off, not everything. We don't want the people of Cleveland to faint and drop dead with the shock, do we? So to be honest, I'd looked at the tide this morning when I'd opened the curtains to see whether it was in or out, or coming in or coming out, and I couldn't have told you what it was doing. So I put my wellies on just in case, because I got wet feet on Friday when we went up to Russell. So I thought I'll put my wellies on, and then at least we can go and have a proper look at the beach. I'm just looking at this big groin here. I've just noticed that there's a gap in it somewhere around about there-ish, where I can get through, because the water's still right at the end of it. So I've been thinking about things to tell you while I'm doing my daily walks. And since it's such a lovely day today, I thought we'd have a word about the sunken village. Now, some of you might already know about the sunken village, and if you've been to the Russell Beach group meetings, you'll have possibly been to a presentation from Wire Archaeology Society, and they did a talk about the sunken village and whether or not there is one or there's not one, because opinion is divided. So I told you last week about the petrified forest. Actually, I think I'll be able to get round the end. We'll risk it for a whiskey. I told you last week about the petrified forest and the tree remains that you can see. Well, you need to be a bit more bit more intrepid, shall we say, to find the sunken village, is supposed to be somewhere round about here. So where's here, you might be asking yourself? Well, currently if I just pan round, I'm near the cafe. That's the venue. Here comes the glove. That's the venue, that's the cafe, that's the cinema on the seafront at Cleveland. So you've turned right at the end of the high street and you're heading north. So according to wire archaeology, the remains of the sunken village are supposed to be somewhere round about here. When I say here, I mean there. So apparently in the 1500s there was, it seems fairly certain that there was some kind of big event. What that event actually was is still open to exact identification, but there was some kind of big flood. So it might have been a tsunami, it might have been a bog burst. Whatever it is, it actually washed away quite a few different villages along this coast. So according to wire archaeology, there is a sunken village. They went out at low neap tide. Neap tide being a low spring tide as early as low gets. Somewhere, well, that's the venue, so I'm nearly up to the venue. So from there, in a straight line, somewhere sort of there. And they went out and did a bit of a dig, and they found A-frames obviously off the roof of a house, and various other pieces of masonry and woodwork that could only have been from habitation. They clearly weren't logs and trunks and things that had been washed into the sea and stuck in the mud. And the legend has it that this village was called Singleton Thorpe, as in people that lived on the Shingleton, and they all moved to Singleton. No, sorry, I've got that wrong. The legend is that this was Singleton out here, and then when this event happened, this tsunami, they moved from here inland, and that's how Singleton Thorpe gets its name. That's the right way around. But opinion on that is divided, because historical records indicate that Singleton Thorpe was there long before this flood event took place. So
and there are these towns all out in the sea. Well, now they're underwater. You know, yeah, we keep seeing bits of woodlands and forests. That is a reservoir, that one, but so the water's gone down, not up, hasn't it? That was 1555, got swept away. But I suddenly started looking more, well, we'll see in a minute, because we're just looking at information, because you find bits, but nothing's ever really put together. So I was just looking. Anyway, so the woman up in Yorkshire, she was just explaining that everything was out in the sea, and I thought, wow, you know, and Doggerland obviously is a part that's gone. So, you know, that bit there is now underwater. And the Doggerland bit, which is a bit further down England, they say that there's trees and buildings and things out there. So obviously we're going to just carry on looking, because I was just trying to think. I was trying to work out. I wanted to know which year it was, because I think everybody was really affluent until this time, and then because this tsunami affected so much of the world, which must be one of our mud floods, because of what it would have done to certain areas of land. Oh yes, so we've got that woman up there, and then I remembered that I have stayed at Chelsea, but could I find it or not? I couldn't find it anywhere, but only a bit of land that jutted out that was an island and is now land. So this one's the other way round, which is incredible, isn't it? So that means the water must have gone down a bit. But the story is, which I did not find it in here, but everybody there will tell you that the original Chelsea is out in the sea. I don't understand in a couple of 100 years how everybody gets these wonderful beaches with sand on and everything. How does it suddenly turn into a beach? Is it that people have to do it or whatever? But I didn't. But this bit's more about the land that was an island, and then and I know what it's a bit strange how that bit's disappeared, but that's another place where England would have been bigger. We would have been bigger country. We seem to have lost land. Anyway, I didn't, only about, did Chelsea used to be an island, but it's the bill of it, I think. But anyway, where was it? Earthquakes of South England. It was stronger than the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Did you see that? So how could there have been all that? Let's go back to that. Where is it? Here it is. How could there have been all that destruction in San Francisco if one much bigger happened in England? Here, look, just here. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Look what it says. That says the opposite of what should have happened to San Francisco. Nothing ever adds up. Anyway, I thought, well, I know we've had earthquakes. They're not really ever mentioned in history. Like if you said that, people might go, what, you've had tsunamis and earthquakes? But for some reason, lately, we haven't really had any, except they call them storms. And this one gives quite this says, but it's this one. There it is. The Lisbon one. That affected us quite badly. It says it went up the River Thames. It affected Penzance. It affected Mont St Michael. Look, there's other towns there. And that's probably where the towns, Chelsea, the ones up in Yorkshire, all disappeared in Doggerland. Then, 1755. But it was quite a bit of land lost. Not in the middle, but on the outside we lost land. There are more, it goes on, but we're not interested in those really. Says me pressing that, but anyway, I was doing that earlier on. I was just looking. Come on. They were going down, but yeah, they go up to, well, ones that were possible tsunamis, but nope, I saw that one, 1755, and I believe that that's when we had a big flood, a world flood, because I'm going to show you something else in a minute as the information comes up. So for me, it was the one in 1755. There's another one there, that's another earthquake. And then I looked it up. Oh, my dog's snoring. There was another one in Bristol in 1607. So, anyway, so there it is. The Lisbon earthquake. 1755. And that went all round England. And look at that. It hit Florida in 1755, we're nowhere near Florida. So if it hit Florida, yeah, maybe this is why we know some places have been flooded. Oh, well, we don't want that bit. We're moving on. Let's move on. That was, let's move. Oh, we've moved on now. So again, we're going back now because there's that bit there. There it is. So we'd have had all our affluent, we'd have had all the pneumatic trains, the whole lot. And then this world tsunami hit, did something, changed something. I mean, if so many countries were affected. Let's move on from that because this is just me looking at it. I should have edited it. Let's move on. There it is. Just anyway, there it is there. That's it there. And it says, I think it'll tell you in a minute. Oh yes, so this is this guy talking about that tsunami. So you can stop and look at that. That's near Cornwall, but we have this one in 1755 hitting Florida. And then it said it hit Morocco, Portugal and Spain. I think somewhere in here I read that the waves were 20 feet high. But what would that do to the world if a lot of countries or a lot of places lost, say, because obviously the water didn't shift, did it? If the towns have gone and they're in the sea and Doggerland's gone and all that. Was that 65 feet? Wow, well, that can't be. 3 meter 10. Well, anyway, lost that one there, yeah. Well, It almost took 4 hours to reach the UK, but it didn't just come here. It went to Florida. I'm not sure if that one's the same place, really, because that doesn't, I don't know, it's got a car in it. And it wouldn't have done because it would have been this. I think that's just earthquakes. But there wasn't really that much, you know. That one says 6 meters high. But what would it do if a lot of the world was hit by this tsunami? That's the king, I think, at the time in Portugal. And those questions didn't really relate back, really. You know, like, you can only ever go so far on things, but I found a bit of it. There is bits in here talking about, you know, the tsunami. I mean, that would be a world catastrophe, wouldn't it? Because about 60 miles of Florida's gone, because there's trees 60 miles out, and there's a fort out there. So it was quite a big catastrophe. I'm going to look up now because that's the end of that. And you can obviously look these things up yourself. Let's look up another place that might have suffered this tsunami. So, there you go. So I just went back. The earthquake, there you go. That's what it says. How many people died? Where? What was the biggest tsunami that ever hit? Oh, let's have a look at that one then. Wow, didn't know that one. Where was the tsunami? We've done that one. I want to see other countries that this hit. There it is again, there, near the British Providence of Massachusetts Bay. So shall we have a quick look at that one? Yeah, well, it just puts that into their Wikipedia. That doesn't really say anything different to what I just showed you. But anyway, let's carry on. It's quite hard to find information. But that still would have affected quite a few countries, wouldn't it? If we lost towns, parts of towns, and they're out in the sea. What's your thoughts to that? Do you think that's one of the world floods? Because it would have gone further up as well. It would have gone further up America. Let's have a look at New York. There you go. It gets more juicy as you go along. See, this is one of the world floods. Look, it hit Martinique, Barbados, North Africa. Look at that, because I looked in New York. Let's have a look what else it says down here. Look, Gibraltar. Whoops. As far as Hamburg, the Azores, Cape Verde Islands. Do you see? This is it. This was a big flood. A big, big flood. Do you think this is one of the ones that kind of destroyed all that Antiquitech time? You know, those Tartarians, which they call Victorians, but they were before with the pneumatic trains, all that with the big buildings, and then this flood because it affected so many countries. What's your thoughts?